damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
But it was genuine. He was mad.
Hi, welcome to What the Flick, everybody. Ben Mankiewicz, Ben Atchity, Alonzo Duralde, Christy Lemire. We are mad as hell. Or we're talking about mad as hell, right? Who wants to describe it?
I will describe it. Okay, so back in the mid-90s, Ben had a TV show in Miami. And his hair was really short, and he had this really, like, spiffy little trim goatee going on. He used to wear little button-down shirts and tuck his shirt into his pants, and he looked very snappy and very smart. And then one day, a guy named Cenk Uygur showed up. It's Cenk, right? It's not Sink. It's Cenk Uygur. He showed up, and they became friends, and they talked about stuff, and they built a friendship. This movie, Mad as Hell, is about the last 20 years of their friendship and the various incarnations of Ben's
And what happened to them after they...
You stepped on my punchline. And the various incarnations of Ben's hair. Take a look.
Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
I just remember thinking, what is this guy's name?
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
If Phil and host beat CNN and headline news combined, at some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut-up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, "You won't believe the meeting that I just had."
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
They want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media.
The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
This movie doesn't get started until the Spanish language TV station owners come in. And then there's just the Ben Mankiewicz table flip.
Right. Univision. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, it's true. You know, I guess there's a little more to the story, but I mean, mostly it's Cenk's story. I'm in it a lot, so it's awkward to talk about.
We're not
reviewing this.
We're not reviewing it.
Let's just get, we're not
These are all our
reviewing
friends
this
in
movie.
this movie, so yes.
And who made it, yeah.
Yeah, and the director...
Andrew Napier, who directed the film, used to direct this show.
Yes, he used to be in
so
charge
see,
of
Clearly
this is the gateway to the stars.
So, but you know, I mean, he spent it was shooting over a year basically, and you know, when I've seen it twice now, and when I saw it the first time, you know, I was nervous. I was like, and so, but it met a threshold for me of, oh, this is a documentary and it looks professional, you know, like that was, and it told Cenk's story, where I think it fits in with other movies is, you know, like the Disney, you know, Justin Bieber movies and Miley Cyrus movies where...
I thought you were going to say like Disney Nature. You
know? Oh, yeah.
And Jen rounded up the staff and made him walk off a cliff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, when the cougar kills the...
Narrated by Samuel L. Jackson.
I just, you know, this is, I mean, if you wanted to argue that it's propaganda, it would be hard. It would be hard to beat back that argument.
It is part of a current wave of documentaries that are made very much with the participants' approval, and thus,
or at least by people who admire
exactly
the
who go into the project already having known the person, already like I just saw the Tig Notaro documentary at Sundance, very much the same thing, made by people who were friends of the subject. So you're not going to get like glaring warts and all kind of, you know, ripping the lid off of, you know, Cenk. But it's a hell of a yarn, you know, that this guy starts off on this like shitty public access channel in DC, and bit by bit kind of hops onto the internet when the internet is happening and creates all this, you know. So yeah, you are getting the sort of, you know, internal hooray us version of the story, but it's still a good story, and it's told interestingly, and they talk to interesting folks like you know.
Yeah. And Dylan Radigan.
And Dylan Radigan. Dave Kohler was oddly very funny in this movie, I thought. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the, you know, it's funny. I felt a little bit about this the way I felt about life itself, like that there was another part of Roger Ebert's story that if you'd included in the film might be seen negatively by some, but would have given you a more rounded of a guy who you're going to come, even if you'd included some of that stuff, you were going to end that movie by thinking, God damn, that guy was great. Yeah. You know, it was and Cenk is a fully formed guy. And I think that if there'd been, you know, there's no huge flaw. It's not like there's guys he's fired lurking out there.
If they'd showed that Squarespace ad, I think that might have really taken him down a peg or two.
But I had never seen any of the really, really early stuff.
Me neither, yeah.
I'd never seen any of his, like, Between Two Ferns stuff that he did on cable access starting out in the
Thin
vests.
Cenk.
The vests were so bad.
Yeah.
But so that's amusing. And just, to see where he's come and see the single-mindedness of purpose and vision, and no matter what happened, he stuck to it. And
some of the difficulty, like what didn't come across because we didn't shoot it enough then, because who thought there'd be a documentary, was, you know, how pieced together with duct tape this was for so long. Some of that manner of thinking, you think it's all right, because some of that manner of thinking still exists now. I mean, we started doing it for, you know, doing the show with a budget of $80 a week, and we still have a mentality that, like, no, we don't need to fix the studio. Just get some glue and push it together, and that monitor's fine. It's cracked. Don't worry.
I'll say this. I think if you wanted to see a documentary about sort of the early days of the web and the people who kind of figured out a way to monetize that and to, you know, have a thing and take that thing to a wider audience, it's more interesting to see it through the filter of Cenk than it would be through the filter of a lot of sort of YouTube celebrities whose only, you know, dominating characteristic is just sort of sheer narcissism.
You know, knowing this is, as we've kind of acknowledged, this is a hard movie for us to really review because we're all very close to this story. And so we know things that aren't included. We know the people involved. So it's hard to look at somebody's interpretation of this and not say, hey, wait a minute. And that being said,
why isn't there more of me in this movie?
Well, right. I mean,
we are not in this movie.
The oversight of what, you know, there's a title card for What the Flick. That's it? What the fuck? That's
Thanks
not
for
okay.
nothing.
You know, there are a couple things that, you know, this is, you know, again, you mentioned the Justin Bieber or the Katy Perry documentaries. This is very much, it feels like something that, if not overly worshipful, it's definitely for people who are fans of Cenk.
Right.
You know, you could show it to advertisers.
That's would, right. Yeah, and the thing that, you know, what I would have liked to have seen is, for instance, you know, when we get to the part where Cenk has stepped back from MSNBC, I want to know what Cenk's family thought of that decision.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
That's especially.
I told him, I told him to take it.
Like Cenk's.
How do you walk away from that?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, as Cenk is now a father, how does his wife feel about that decision?
That's right.
Like I think that's important. The other thing that I will admit, I came away from this documentary not getting a sense of what drives Cenk. And that's, to me, what I'm frustrated with, is that I don't feel like the documentary does a particularly great job of showing why he's mad as hell. Mm-hmm. You know, it shows that, and it shows that he works hard, and it shows that he's done all this great stuff, but where's that coming from? And that's what I would have liked to have seen.
Well, I agree. It shows that he's opinionated, but I don't know that even though it's wall-to-wall Cenk throughout this film, I'm not sure I know him. If I'm watching this movie, and I know Cenk, I don't think I know him as a person outside of the work, right? I mean, you see him playing with this kid a little bit, but what kind of music does he like? What's he like just to hang out with? Is it just that there's no difference between personal and professional, and who he is all the time is who he is? I don't know.
Well, it's one of the things that I think works about him, and worked better here than it did at MSNBC, although I thought it worked fine at MSNBC, is that, but they try to, as soon as you're on TV, you get crafted into somebody who is on TV. Cenk is incredibly authentic. He is never dishonest, and that's what's lacking in television news in general, and he represents something genuine. And so I think who he is does come across. But I think that said, more time getting to know who he was. And you could have seen that through a person saying, I'm turning down $450,000 a year to be a weekend anchor at MSNBC with a wife and a kid because I believe in this stuff. This is what's going to grow. This is going to stifle me. Including that would have told you a great deal about who he is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is not a spoiler for anyone because anyone who knows who's going to watch this movie should be at least passingly familiar with Cenk. The Wolfpack stuff and the initiative to get a constitutional amendment, that's a big thing. Yeah. That's huge. And again, even just as a viewer, I don't know where that passion's coming from. And that's where I think is one of the issues. Again, I think this is a really good documentary. I think it's really interesting. But as we're talking about, as opposed to like life itself, you get a sense at least, life itself is not a perfect movie, but you get a sense of at least what drives Roger.
Totally, that's right.
And I think that's kind of missing here.
It looks great. Andrew, it looks really good. It's really glossy.
Yes.
It's edited really nicely. It looks very professional.
Yeah, totally.
And we still love you, Andrew.
and if you watch this network or even just this show, there will be things about it that you'll find interesting, just to sort of see the whole evolution of this network and how it came to be and where it started and where we are now and maybe where we're going. Yeah, I think you won't necessarily answer all your questions, but it's a compelling watch. It's well edited. It moves along at a brisk pace. And Cenk is a compelling enough figure to sort of if you're going to have a cult of personality documentary, he's got the personality for it.
So we're not going to give it numbers.
No, but see it.
Yeah.
It opens this weekend theatrically and on
LA, New York this weekend, and on VOD, and it goes wider in subsequent weeks.
Yeah.